Welcome. In this video, we're going to answer the question how changing your mindset can change your life. We're going to talk about the transformative power of your mindset. Your mindset, when you shift your thinking, when you shift your mindset from one mindset to another, it has an impact on your health, your overall well-being, your performance, your relationships. It will impact every aspect of your life. This video, we're going to discover the science behind your mindset. We're going to look at the importance of shifting from a negative mindset to a positive mindset, the impact that each of those have on your life. We're going to look at some strategies, some specific skills about shifting your mindset, and then I'm going to share a story with you of somebody who really epitomizes the power of a positive mindset. So, mindset. What is a mindset? Let's talk a little bit briefly about the science of the mindset. Your mindset is essentially the beliefs and the values that are going to drive your behavior, they're going to drive your actions, your attitude. We want to begin to understand this idea of neuroplasticity and how your brain actually forms those beliefs and the attitudes that shape you. So first, neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is this concept of this idea that your brain is constantly growing and changing. So every time you have a new experience, your brain's making neurological connections. There's neural connections. The more you do them, the stronger they get. This is where habits can come into play as well. So this idea of neuroplasticity can really be seen in the example of Billy Wagner. Billy Wagner was a left-handed relief pitcher, made the Hall of Fame. He's one of the great left-handed relief pitchers of all time. And when Billy was a preteen, older elementary school age, somewhere in that range, he broke his arm, his right arm, twice. And because he broke it twice and was in a cast for a while, he began to teach himself how to throw left-handed. So that is a perfect example of the power of neuroplasticity. He was able to learn how to do something differently. A new neural synapses were being formed physiologically and mentally, and he became an elite left-handed pitcher, even though he didn't learn how to do that. It wasn't his natural form until later in life. So your brain, it forms this mindset, these beliefs, these values, that's going to help shape your actions. And it shapes your self-identity too. And your self-identity is a very, very powerful aspect of your mindset. Who you think you are, what you believe true about yourself, about your abilities, your capabilities are really going to impact the decisions you make and the risks that you take or don't take. For example, let me give you the story of Jimmy. Jimmy was a student. He's eighth grade student, I believe, at the time when I had a chance to observe him. He was not in the program that I had, but I knew of Jimmy and I knew his story. And I was in the classroom where he was at, and I got a chance to observe Jimmy. Jimmy had a one-to-one, an ed tech that was with him because he would often get kicked out of class. Now, he was not a bully. He was not violent. He wasn't a danger to anybody else. He was just really, really annoying, right? He would annoy everybody. And you can't really run a classroom well if you got a student who's like really annoying everybody. So sure enough, within like 3 minutes or so of class, he's beginning to do these annoying little behaviors, and the person with him and the teacher, they're running through the behavioral plan that he had on how to interrupt that and try to get him back on track. And it wasn't working, so he was going to be escorted out. So I went up to Jimmy, and again, I don't really know him. He doesn't know me, but I just had a way with kids. I had to ask him. So I was like, Jimmy, why are you so annoying to people? Why are you such a pain in the butt to everybody? He looked right at me, just like No hesitation, really, like, because that's what I am. Oh, how did you decide that? Well, I didn't decide that. That's just who I am. Oh, so you decided to believe a lie. And I walked away, and Jimmy was escorted out of class. Now, Jimmy's behavior plan, which he'd been on for years, wasn't effective because it was dealing with the symptoms, not the cause. And the cause was his mindset around who he was as a student and as a learner. He is going to behave in a way that's going to keep his self-identity. His self-identity was somebody who's a pain in the butt. So he has to be a pain in the butt to maintain that self-identity. That's the power of a negative mindset, right? A mindset that isn't very supportive of positive outcomes in your life. So learning how to shift that mindset really has a lot to do with learning how to interrupt existing patterns of behavior, right? Now, the things that you can do, other people, like for Jimmy, his therapists and counselors should have been working on that self-identity issue, right? Some of those core beliefs that were driving that behavior, because that's when they were going to get the most impact. And some of the ways that you can begin to interrupt your own behavior is through the power of journaling and asking better questions. Like I asked Jimmy, what was the question I asked that interrupted his pattern? Oh, how did you decide that? He didn't know how to respond to that. Boom, I interrupted his pattern. Oh, so you decided to believe a lie. Boom, I interrupted his pattern. You can do that with yourself by asking different questions. How am I stressing myself out right now? How is it that I believe I'm no good in math? How do I do that? When you begin to ask that question, your brain has to go inside to begin to figure out, how am I doing that? You've interrupted the pattern, you become more aware, you begin to look at your own processes, you remove yourself from the stress of the situation, and you begin to get key important information about how you might be able to change it. Another thing that becomes important to recognize is that for you to believe something, your brain has to know the difference between that and a doubt, right? If your brain coded that information the same way, then it wouldn't know whether you doubt that or whether you believe that. So when you begin to look at how they're called submodalities, but how your brain codes that, like what's the imagery in your mind look like, you can, once you know it, you can begin to learn how to change it. There's some techniques that we'll talk about in other videos on how to do just that. But first thing is awareness. Ask yourself better questions so you can interrupt those patterns. Now, I want to share with you how impactful this can be, right? So positive thinking has a tremendous role on your health and your well-being. Negative thinking has the opposite effect. It can literally make you sick, right? Beginning to see possibilities in your life, beginning to train your brain to see what can happen if you remove some obstacles, when you remove these barriers to your success, will encourage you to take more risks in your life, will encourage you to step outside your comfort zone, like Nick Vujicic. And Nick Vujicic, he's one of my heroes. Nick Vujicic, you can find his videos on YouTube, search his name. He's a motivational speaker. He speaks to millions of people all over the world. He has impacted millions of people's lives through his story of positivity, through his positive mindset in the way he lives his life. So what's so special about Nick Vujicic? He was born with no arms and no legs. So stop and think about that for a moment. Think about yourself being elementary school, getting even a little bit older. You've got no arms and no legs. Like, you can't, quote unquote, you can't do anything, right? Somebody's got to be taking care of you all the time. Well, fortunately for Nick, and two of his other heroes would be his parents, who really helped instill a positive mindset. But because he developed that, he shifted from that negative mindset. And at one point, he himself said that he questioned why he should even be living. Right? Like, I've got no arms, no legs. But he shifted his mindset. He shifted his mindset. And today, as I said, not only does he speak all over the world to millions of people, not only has he helped literally transform people's lives, he is, you watch him, he's happy, he's joyful, he's a husband, he's a father, he's done things in his life that some of us would only dream about doing. And that's the power of shifting from a negative mindset to a positive mindset, which you can do as well. I invite you to watch one of our other videos, how the brain plays into mindset. And in that video, we'll look at a little bit more about the science behind mindset. So go ahead and check out that video that answers that question, how the brain plays into mindset.